Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Project Zomboid series. So why are we doing a new series anyway when I said, we might wait for the new beta? Well, the bad news is new beta might be a little bit longer off than I expected. They actually changed the schedule of their bi-weekly block to monthly, which tells me it's probably gonna be at least 2 months. If not free, until anything else happens. And they kind of also said it's more like end of the year. So it's not going to be within the next 2 months or so. So you might as well start a new series. So I guess that's the good news then. So for this series, this episode here is just going to be an overview of the rules we have for the series. The mod list, a brief overview, and then the sandbox setting, character creation. So that's just going to be this episode. I'm going to label this episode 0, and episode 1 is then spawning into the world, surviving the first day. Yeah, so that's going to be that. The idea of the series, unlike the last one, we're not going to have a ultimate game over goal as in create the zombie virus vaccine, what we did, but rather more an open survive as long as we can thing. I want to do a series where I build my own base from scratch out in the wilderness, everything self-built, and do the whole thing with farming, with fishing, with trapping, and go out looting. Now, we're gonna have a few extra rules, self-imposed restrictions if you want, restrictions if you want to spice it up. The biggest one is gonna be what I call you only loot once. So every town we enter, once we leave that town, we cannot return to loot anything there. So if we, drive into Riverside, loot the bookstore, and then leave Riverside, whole of Riverside is off limit for looting. We can go back there, take a few cars or so, but we cannot enter any building anymore. No item looted from anywhere. So basically, there's one trip to each city. That is kind of the idea behind this. There's two ideas that I want to do with that. First of all, you're not going to get everything from one trip. Second of all, I'll get around the map a little bit, have more motivation to, explore other towns instead of, let's go back to Riverside for the 15th time. Third of all, since the trigger is leaving the town, that means I'm not going to do loot runs into the town, back to base, second day, back into town, back to base, because I can't, the moment I leave, it's over. So every town we adventure to, we gotta stay there for as long as possible, grab as much loot as we can until we ultimately leave. So I hope that spices things up a little bit. Yeah, next thing. No weapon left behind. I cannot train a single weapon skill more than 2 levels higher than the other weapon skills. Which means if my axe gets to level 3, I need to start using long blunts, short blunts, spears, all the other things. Try to keep everything leveled on the same kind of level. The only exception there is I can't, for example, use long blades if I don't find any machetes or katanas. And we're gonna have a little bit rarer loot settings than we had in the previous run, so that might actually be an issue. That only goes for weapon skills. We're not gonna do this for any of the other skills. And the third thing is not really a hard rule. So we have the Saf's cooking mod as part of the mod list, and one of my goals is to cook as many recipes from that cooking mod as possible. So really get some variety going, not just eat cabbage, potato, and rabbit stew every day in, day out, but try to spice it up. Now, if the rarer loot allows us actually to get the variety of ingredients that we need for this, I don't know. We'll see. We'll do our best. Talking about mods. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but I'm just going to leave it on the screen so that you can kind of get an idea. So I've got a bunch of various maps, a whole bunch of modded cars, modded trailers, modded everything. We also have Somewhere here, the yacht club, yeah, so boats might be there. Then, of course, Authentic Z for the upgraded backpacks and for all the zombie clothing variety on zombies. I feel like this is one of the most basic mods that I probably never run, even an unmodded run, I would say. Unmodded except Authentic Z, it's always my first pick. Such a good mod. Then, so we're gonna play again with the sound events. Once we get to the game settings, I did tweak it a little bit so that the actual events are hopefully gonna be a little bit closer to the player, and we might actually see one this time around. Alright, then we have some gears, some more other stuff. I think the big ones, or rather the lack of certain mods. You do not see the do-it-yourself car parts mod. So in the previous runs, we always had the option to basically build from scratch any part of any car that we needed. You know, I need a new brake for a sports car, just build one. That's not in. If we need spare parts for our cars, we need to go around, loot other cars, salvage the parts around, collect cars, etc., etc. So it's not going to be that easy to get a 100% car all around with the best parts everywhere. We need to collect and find stuff. So other than that, just gonna slowly scroll through it so everybody can see what's in here. We're gonna have the overhaul mod, simple overhaul trades and occupations, which we're gonna come to somewhere down here. So for the professions, again, so we'll see that on the character creation. That also allows you to gain certain perks over time and lose some negative perks. So we're going to explore that a little bit, just, you know, getting the character better over time. As I said, Saf's cooking with all the new cooking recipes. We're going to have Save Our Station active again. So we need to fix the stations. This is kind of the exception to the only loot once rule. You know, of course, we can drive to the stations multiple times. And I'm going to update or increase the rate at which they can break. We're going to have random zombies, as in, once again, the faster, the runners, not sprinters, 5%. We might increase that over time, you know, as the character gets stronger, maybe increase the rate at which runners spawn. We'll see. We'll see how it feels. It's always really hard to judge how a run like this is going to develop over time. There was one more I just spotted, quickly wanted to mention here, which I already... Yeah, we're going to have the solar arrays, and hopefully we're going to get to play around with that this time around. Yeah, pillows random spawns, so we're gonna spawn randomly somewhere on the map. And I think that's mostly it. No, hang on, the most important one is vanilla firearms expansion. So last run we were playing with Britta's weapons mod, which added all the weapons you could ever think of, and attachments, and all the other stuff with weapons, and made firearms really, really strong. Vanilla firearms expansion, I think, is a little bit more in line with the power levels that you have in the vanilla weapons. It just adds a little bit more variety on weapon types. I haven't actually played with it yet, but I heard good things about it. There's like 3 big firearms mods: Britta's, vanilla firearms extended, and then firearms B41, and which is also nice. But I wanted to test a vanilla firearms expansion, and we'll see how that goes. Alright, so with that being said, let's take a look at the sandbox settings. We're gonna take a random Knox County start. And we're gonna, have our preset loaded here. Alright, let's just start at the top. Initial gas station amount, empty. We will not have any gas in the gas stations. Any gas we get needs to be salvaged, siphoned from cars around the place. And we kind of need to be not super wasteful with the gas, and probably get those solar rays we were just talking about. The darkness I always keep on bright just for YouTube to make it visible, but most of the time we're not playing in the dark anyway, so that's not a big deal. Alright, slower erosion, because erosion sucks. Sometimes helicopter, so we have repeating helicopter with like, I'm not even sure if it tells you, I think it's like 11 to 14 days or something between helicopters, which I think is going to be one of the biggest factors for when we're leaving a town. Let's say I'm driving to a new town, I'm starting to loot. Once the next helicopter comes, I'm probably going to leave the town, at which point we cannot return to this town because of the first rule of the run. Then slightly increased randomized house and story chance, just to give some variety. 5 days for corpse removal and no maggots, because maggots just get in the way. Loot rarity. Everything is basically rarer. Insanely rare for fresh food, non-canned food. Extremely rare for canned food, weapons, ranged weapons. Ammo actually slightly higher than normal. So if you kind of want to make weapons or ranged weapons very rare, but ammo, once we get a weapon, at least we can keep using it a little bit. Medical, mechanics extremely rare. Literature insanely rare. One reason, or I forgot to show that during the mod list, is we're going to have skill books for all the skills. Not just the crafting skills. There's going to be skill books for the weapon skills. I thought with the restriction of having to train all the weapon skills, add the skill books for the weapons, so that we can actually do that in a reasonable amount of time. Might feel overpowered, might be okay. We'll have to see. Again, it's not like I played a 40-hour training run to see if these settings make the game too easy, too hard, or anything. I did a 2-hour run of this, roughly. Character, everything normal. We're gonna have the full map known at the start, to kind of also see where the modded towns are, or where all the towns are. So we have that restriction of, okay, this is a town, we can go there once, can never return after looting. I think that's going to be helpful. They're not looking around the whole time. I'm gonna have a high car spawn rate, because hey, we have so many modded cars, I want to collect some cool cars, I like car collecting. Might seem in some, some parking lots in my test game were really full, some were actually surprisingly empty for high car spawn rate, so I think it's going to even out over time. And we have slightly, if there's low chance that they have gas, just like vanilla settings, but if they have gas, they have a little bit more than normal, because there's no gas in the gas stations. And I've lowered the car damage on impact, because that is kind of insane in the vanilla settings, how much damage your car takes. Alright, zombie pop. This is one I'm really struggling with, to find a nice balance between challenging number of zombies, but not spending 5 episodes just killing zombies just to loot one building. So I decided to go with a 2x zombie pop that is slightly higher than standard apocalypse settings, but having that from day one. So there's not going to be a slow ramp up of zombies, just from the start, 2x pop. And I think with the additional difficulty rules we have, I think that's going to be okay. Some of the modded maps especially have extremely high zombie count, and I think playing with, for example, 4x pop, which is a little bit more challenging on those mobs, those maps, is kind of similar to 16x runs, because they already have really high zombie pop. So I think this is hopefully a good balance. We'll see. No respawn as usual. I don't think I've ever played with respawn, because respawn is kind of silly. Then again, since we're not returning to towns after leaving, it's kind of whatever. Everything else defaults. Sound events. Maximum range is by default 750, so I changed the maximum range down to 250, so it won't be too far away. I actually wanted to change the minimum to a little bit closer. So 150 tiles away is the minimum distance, which is slightly beyond visual range. I think the max you can zoom out is like 75 tiles, so you can kind of reach that in a reasonable amount of time. Alright, and I think the rest, yeah, random zombies, 95% normal, 5% sprinters, which with our settings are gonna be the runners we had also in the last run. No smart zombies, because crafting lockable doors and double doors and garage doors is a huge pain in the butt, and just because the game doesn't have an easy way to craft that, I think then it kind of makes the setting a little bit weird. Oh yeah, save our station. This is normally on default is normal, and we have it on unreliable broadcast reliability because, you know, in the last run we had, what, 3 months without any breakdown of the broadcasting system, so the mod basically had no effect. Right, and then we also have the XP tweaker. I'm gonna double the XP for some of the more grindy skills, just because I can. Try to stop me. Alright, let's go to the character creation. Simple trade and occupations adds a lot of new occupations here, and I'm gonna go with a vanilla fire officer. Well, it's not vanilla, it's slightly different. It gets axeman, which is what lumberjack normally gets in vanilla, so the faster attack speed with axes, better at chopping trees. Because if we're gonna be building a base from scratch out in the woods, I'll better be good at chopping trees, because that's gonna be a lot of work. Okay, negatives. Thin-skinned, slow healer, thin-blooded, clumsy, conspicuous, high thirst, prone to illness, smoker, unlucky, short-sighted, snorer, and a weak stomach. Positives. We're gonna have, starting here from the bottom, tout, which is fitness and strength +1, stout and fit. So that gives me 3 strength, 3 fitness, +1 fitness and strength from fire officer, which gives me then fitness and strength of 9, which is basically as if I would have taken strong and athletic. So, but that's usually 12 points, and I'm only spending 18 points basically for this. Well, and the points I'm spending for the profession. Organized. Yes, you know, I normally play with disorganized. I have organized here with the restriction of being able to loot each town only once, right? Once we leave for good. I want to cram as much loot as possible into my bags, into my backpack, into my trunk and seats of the car. Like my normal reasoning for taking disorganized is, hey, you've got time. It's the apocalypse. You don't have a date. You don't have to get back to work on Monday. You can just drive to the town a second time, loot a second time, loot up the car again. It's no problem, right? There's no time pressure. Well, in this case, there kind of is. We have time pressure because once the helicopter comes, we probably need to leave a city and can never return. So let's get as much loot as we can carry into our backpacks. Keen hearing, durability giving us 1 point of starting maintenance, dexterous for fast inventory movement, brave so we don't panic as much at the start, agile gives us +1 nimble. It's a little bit cheaper than starting off with gymnast, which you usually would take to get your starting nimble. Outdoorsman, so we want to be outdoors a lot. Breathing techniques allows us faster endurance recovery when we're not moving, and then I had 1 point left over, so I took fast reader. Normally in single player I take even slow reader because hey, you can just fast forward time. But we have all these additional books in this run, so I thought, let's take fast reader. All right, so that's the setup. 1, 2, 3 times the random button gives us Loopy Reese. I do not want to start with Firefighter Pants, thank you very much. They slow you down in combat. Okay, Loopy Reese is ready to go. And we'll do that in the start of our very first real episode, which should be live by the time you see this. So I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.